This story starts with a simping protagonist risking it all to save a pretty blonde from some bullies. But unfortunately, the bullies catch up with them in a sketchy alley and start beating the living daylights out of the protagonist for being a useless beta male. As he's getting his cheeks clapped into oblivion, the MC blacks out into complete darkness. Suddenly, a voice announces that he has been summoned through magic. A pretty girl wearing a robe introduces herself as Mimi and reveals that only 4 people should have been summoned. The protagonist stands frozen as Mimi explains that 2 people were summoned by mistake. Furthermore, Mimi tells everyone summoned that many human territories have been destroyed by different races, and humanity now stands on the edge of extinction, so they have been summoned to help in the war. One of the bullies shouts angrily, asking what selfish nonsense she's spouting and demands to be sent home immediately. But Mimi responds that she's sorry but can't send them back until they've helped the kingdom. Following that, a magical system activates as Mimi explains how this world operates. She reveals that all living beings have levels representing their strength with numerical values, but not all levels are the same. Heroes, she says, possess much higher levels than common people. Nervously, she approaches Takahashi, the protagonist, and tells him he doesn't seem to be a hero but suggests checking his level first. Meanwhile, Takahashi is still in disbelief that he and even the bullies have been summoned to this world. Just then, the system displays that Takahashi has a level of 1. This pisses off the king, who angrily calls Takahashi a useless defective and commands the guards to throw the weak hero into the Valley of Death. The king declares that those without power have no reason to live. As the guards quickly move to carry out the execution, the terrified protagonist screams that he doesn't want to die and then notices the bullies laughing at his predicament. Meanwhile, the bullied blonde girl desperately calls for someone to help the condemned boy. Eventually, Takahashi is thrown into the dark Valley of Death, still screaming his refusal to die. But suddenly, he crashes into something soft and is relieved to find he's still alive after the terrible fall. Looking around the valley, Takahashi realizes the biggest problem now is that it's impossible to get out of this place. Confused, he decides to check his status screen for any skill that might help. The interface appears, showing his pathetically low level but also a mysterious skill called corpse absorption. Just then, a bunch of ugly goblins appear out of nowhere, ready to feast on his weak noodle cheeks. Takahashi understands fighting is impossible at his level, so he takes off running. The goblins start chasing him, as he continues to run for his dear life through the valley. He realizes he can't outrun the little pests and becomes increasingly panicked about surviving. Suddenly, the monsters catch up and brutally attack him with massive logs. The goblins beat him so badly, he's left completely hurt and battered. Trying to back away, Takahashi looks around desperately and notices another valley within the valley. He doesn't know how deep it goes, but he understands this might be his only chance for survival. Determined to escape, the protagonist jumps down the valley. He obeys the fall of gravity before crashing into what feels like thick black mud. As he looks around in confusion at the strange substance, a disgusting smell hits him. He soon discovers he's landed in a massive pile of decomposing monster lizard heads. Suddenly, Takahashi spots the annoying goblins dropping down by rope to his new location and starts to panic. Examining the valley, he finds there's no exit and wonders what to do next. Then he remembers his corpse absorption skill and decides to use it, but doesn't know how. In that dire moment, a mysterious voice speaks to him, asking if he wants to absorb this corpse. Confused but desperate, Takahashi responds that he does. Suddenly, a massive swirl of lightning emits from his hand, and the system activates, showing that the absorption of Earth Dragon is successful. Instantly, Takahashi is shocked to see the decomposing monster lizard head disappear and also feels a change inside him. Suddenly, a goblin attacks from behind, but Takahashi turns unexpectedly and grabs it by the head. As he smashes the goblin's head into the ground, he realizes his power is completely different from moments ago. Shocked, he sees he has terminated the creature effortlessly. At that moment, the protagonist begins to understand how this world works through his new corpse absorption ability. With the dead goblin still in his hand, Takahashi jumps out of the valley and onto the surface. There, he absorbs the goblin's corpse but realizes his stats don't rise much compared to absorbing the monster lizard. Another goblin launches an aerial attack with a massive log, but Takahashi blocks it with his bare hands and punches the creature's disgusting face. The rest of the goblins are shocked to see the boy suddenly much more powerful. But goblins being goblins, they choose to attack anyway. This time, Takahashi activates his enhanced skill, Meteorite, and a massive rock from nowhere completely crushes the enemies. With the goblins eliminated, Takahashi understands that his corpse absorption skill is quite useful. Thanks to the skill, even at level 1, he's gotten really strong. He realizes that to get stronger, he must take the lives of anyone who threatens his survival and growth. Eventually, he plans to go after those who treated him like a useless, defective being. Now, with his new abilities, he's determined to get revenge and become truly powerful. Shortly afterward, the protagonist is attacked by a monstrous level 25 Thunderboar. Suddenly, the Thunderboar blasts him with lightning attacks. Takahashi's body goes numb instantly, leaving him unable to move. He realizes this is the creature's special ability and panics as he tries to avoid the electrical assault. As the lightning boar attacks from behind, the monster suddenly meets resistance and dies instantly in a pool of its own blood. Takahashi is relieved that his high defense helped protect him from the worst damage. However, he complains of fatigue and the need to rest since he's been searching for a way out of the valley for hours without success. Just then, Takahashi finds a small puddle of water and decides to drink. Worried, he admits that at this rate, he'll die if he doesn't find a way out of the valley soon. Suddenly, a weak-looking black cat appears, and Takahashi wonders what it's doing there. He considers whether to help the creature but doesn't know how to act in such a situation. Then, Takahashi notices the cat pointing upwards and looks up to see a massive absorbent spider monster emitting a special thread. He panics as the creature suddenly attacks with its web. The boy screams, feeling something strange happening to his body, and wonders what the threat is. Desperately, he tries to get the sticky web off but realizes he can't. At that moment, Takahashi feels his strength draining, his status declining, and figures this must be the spider's skill absorption. Turning back to the weak cat, Takahashi reasons the little creature was probably attacked by the monster too. Since the spider is too far away, Takahashi declares he'll take it down using his meteorite attack. He activates the skill but realizes the ceiling is too low for it to work effectively. Then he remembers the lightning assault from the Thunderboar and decides to try that skill instead. The protagonist unleashes his Thunderbolt attack with devastating results on the monstrous spider, but notices the spider is evading the attack by moving too fast. Worn out, Takahashi realizes it's useless to keep shooting like this since his magical power is running low. Looking at the sticky web on his hand, he wonders if the web conducts electricity and decides to try a different approach. He charges the web with a massive volt of electricity, hoping it will work. To his surprise, the web conducts the high-voltage current and instantly fries the spider. Relieved, Takahashi realizes his strategy worked as the creature falls defeated. To make sure it's truly dead, he jumps on the spider and crushes its head. Afterward, he absorbs its corpse and gains valuable abilities in this dangerous world. Following that, Takahashi thanks the weak-looking cat for warning him of the monster and offers to help it a little. Confused, he wonders what he should do for the injured animal and then starts by fetching water with his hand for the little creature to drink. As the cat drinks from his palm, Takahashi hopes it will recover soon and gently pets it. He enjoys caressing the soft fur and comments on how incredibly soft the pet's coat is. Suddenly, the cat begins transforming dramatically. Takahashi stares in shock as the creature changes into a girl with cat ears and a tail, still drinking from his palm. Surprised, Takahashi quickly pulls his hand away, but the cat girl says she wants to drink more and promises to let him keep stroking her. Confused, Takahashi asks for an explanation of her sudden transformation, and the cat girl happily explains that thanks to his help, she's returned to her original form. She introduces herself as Lenya, level 25, Beastman breed, and thanks him for helping her recover. Following that, Lenya notes the valley is a dangerous place and asks why Takahashi is here. Takahashi explains that, for various reasons, he's been left there and asks if she knows the way out. Lenya admits she doesn't remember how she got here either but offers to help. Then, Lenya asks Takahashi if there's anything else he wants to know about her. Takahashi admits he's been wondering about something for a while and asks if beastmen have ears on their heads like humans do. Lenya gets flustered by the question and screams that the boy is a sick freak. Embarrassed, she admits anything about her ears is a secret and warns him never to ask something like that again. The protagonist apologizes, saying he really didn't know. Lenya accepts his apology and apologizes for going a little crazy on him and then offers to give him something as a thank you. Grabbing his hand, she suggests they go somewhere together. When Takahashi asks where they're going, Lenya explains they're heading to her house, where she wants to introduce him to her teacher. With that, the protagonist agrees to follow her, and the two walk together toward their destination. Meanwhile, in another part of the valley, a mysterious, angry figure warns that someone better apologize for taking too long when they arrive, or there will be consequences. On the way, they spot something that looks like a giant lizard. Hiding behind a stone, Takahashi asks Lenya if they really have to go through that path. Lenya nods, explaining they have to cross there to get home. However, Takahashi points out that the creature looks incredibly dangerous. It's revealed to be a level 29 poisonous lizard. But Lenya confidently tells him to leave the beast to her. When Takahashi asks if she has any effective skills for fighting, the Whisker-Brain suggests using her Mike Tyson style to beat the monster. Takahashi warns her that hand-to-hand combat would be too dangerous since the lizard is surrounded by what looks like a poisonous swamp. So Takahashi suggests they look for a sensible alternative, but Lenya warns it's going to be night soon. She explains that at night, many frightening undead spirits appear. With no other option, Takahashi figures he has to use one of his skills. Looking at his status screen, he reasons that since his opponent is level 14, attacking with meteorite will certainly annihilate it. But he's used too much MP on the spider earlier and can't use thunderbolts either since that will only immobilize the lizard. His best option is to weaken the lizard with the spider's absorbent webs. Thinking deeply, Takahashi devises a plan. He turns to Lenya and asks if she's confident in her speed. With the plan underway, Lenya walks in front of the monstrous lizard and playfully calls herself a delicious-looking cat. She taunts the creature to come and eat her if it wants. The pissed-off lizard immediately starts chasing her, and Lenya leads it away from Takahashi as she continues to taunt the lizard for being slow. But accidentally, her legs hit a stone and she trips, falling face first onto the ground. Just then, the lizard creeps up on Lenya, ready to turn her into a midnight snack. But Takahashi sweeps into action, entangling the monster in his spider webs and saving her. As the lizard struggles to free itself, Takahashi gets excited that the thread works perfectly. Relieved, he thanks Lenya, saying the strategy worked thanks to her. Now he just has to wait until he can use meteorite again. Suddenly, Takahashi notices the thread is already starting to melt. He reasons that maybe he should use Thunderbolt and run away instead, but then questions if it's wise to use it while standing in the swamp. Suddenly, the lizard breaks free and prepares to attack with its poisonous liquid. Takahashi quickly shields Lenya from the attack, but gets scratched by the poisonous liquid himself. Those few seconds are all Takahashi needs to activate meteorite, and a massive rock crushes the monster lizard. The huge creature lies motionless, having been successfully defeated. Excited, Lenya jumps on Takahashi to celebrate their victory. Takahashi, on the other hand, feels completely exhausted from using his skills. Following that, Takahashi moves over to the dead lizard and absorbs its poison skill. Afterwards, he wonders what effect the poison ability will have on him. To test it out, he spots some huge bubble mushrooms nearby that are lethally poisonous and decides to try a bit. Lenya panics, warning him that her teacher told her never to eat anything from dangerous places. She grabs his mouth, urging him to spit it out. Suddenly, they hear a groaning sound coming from deep within a dark crevice. Lenya starts to panic, exclaiming that it's already nighttime, which means dangerous undead spirits will appear soon. Just then, frightening spirit skulls emerge from the darkness, filling the valley with menace. Terrified, both Takahashi and Lenya scream at the sight of the abomination. Panicking, Lenya asks Takahashi to absorb the monster's skill, but he reminds her he can't use his skill without touching it. Lenya picks up a stone and hurls it at the monster, but the stone passes right through. Realizing the monster has a ghostly form, she shouts that it will be impossible and they need to run to her house immediately. The spirits chase after them, and Takahashi warns that they're going to get caught in no time. With this in mind, Lenya quickly activates her beastification ability and transforms into a powerful black wolf. She immediately orders Takahashi to get on her back so they can escape faster. Shocked, Takahashi asks if that's really Lenya in her transformed state, and Lenya explains that this way they'll reach her home much faster. With that, Takahashi holds on tight as they race through the dangerous valley. Soon, they reach their destination, and Lenya announces they're almost at her house as they approach a hidden entrance. They arrive at what appears to be a dead end in the valley and stop before the rocky wall. Looking around confused, Takahashi asks what they're supposed to do next. Lenya points out that the door is hidden in the wall. She tries several times to open it but fails, then tells Takahashi she can't open the door. Takahashi sighs and suggests she return to her original form. But she collapses in her animal form, complaining that she's too tired from the transformation. Takahashi then finds the door handle and slides it open. Finally, they successfully enter Lenya's hidden house. Takahashi is stunned to see that it really is a house, complete with furniture and living space. Suddenly, a harsh voice calls out to Lenya, asking if she knows what time it is. Lenya starts to panic as a large teddy bear appears, scolding them about how dangerous it is to be outside at night. Shocked, Takahashi can't believe a teddy bear is talking. The teddy bear, noticing there's a human in the house, screams at Takahashi to immediately put Lenya down. When Takahashi hesitates even slightly, the ferocious stuffed animal attacks him, declaring Lenya is her precious family. Takahashi frantically lets Lenya down, and the angry bear warns there's nothing of value in the house for humans to take. Takahashi tries to explain the situation, but the bear calls him a psychopath and accuses him of enjoying torturing beastmen. Just then, Lenya whispers weakly, telling her master to chill, and then explains that Takahashi was actually helping her during their dangerous journey. Shortly afterward, the teddy bear apologizes to Takahashi for her earlier behavior and for being so protective of her precious student. Takahashi responds that he's glad the misunderstanding has been cleared up, and then starts checking the bear's stats. He is shocked to discover that the bear is actually a female elf. Noticing Takahashi evaluating her stats, the bear angrily asks if he's using a rare skill. She explains that evaluation magic is typically used by intelligent dragons and superior demons, and wonders how a human could possess such advanced abilities. The bear becomes suspicious, asking who Takahashi really is. Clearly intrigued by his unusual magical capabilities, she then decides to introduce herself properly. She says her name is Mech and explains that the reason she looks like a shapeless bear is because of a curse, but she's actually an elf princess. As a sign of hospitality, Mech offers to let Takahashi spend the night. Takahashi accepts her kindness but points out that his main concern is getting the heck out of the valley. Mech explains it's going to be tough. She says it's a 30-day journey and it's impossible to avoid the spirits of the dead. However, she informs him that there is a route he can use, but the exit is blocked by an undefeatable golem. Just then, Lenya interrupts, telling her master that with Takahashi's help, they can defeat the golem if she's willing to train him. Mech doubts this and asks Takahashi to show her his status. As Takahashi opens his status tab, Mech is stunned to see his terrible level 1, but she also notices his crazy abilities, especially corpse absorption. With that, Mech assures Takahashi that if he can increase his stats, he might stand a chance to defeat the golem. Since Takahashi's hands are softer than a Disney princess on spa day, Mech proudly declares she'll turn his limp noodle self into a warrior in no time. Training begins with Mech asking Takahashi to battle a group of goblins using a wooden sword to increase his combat experience. Takahashi weakly grabs the sword and smacks the goblins with it, but Mech warns him he's holding it wrong. Takahashi doesn't see the need for training since he can use corpse absorption to increase his stats anyway. But Mech insists that a powerful skill means nothing if he can't connect the blow and firmly advises that his skills must be refined through daily training. Furthermore, Mech reveals there's a certain power that nothing can match. She explains it's a power only possessed by those who have passed a specific level requirement. Takahashi asks what level is needed for this mysterious power. With a serious expression, Mech reveals the shocking truth. Anyone who reaches level 90 would be able to destroy an entire nation by themselves. Takahashi gulps nervously upon hearing this and then asks how powerful someone at level 125 would be. Mech replies that it's a ridiculous power. Such a person would be capable of destroying the entire world alone. Several hours later, Takahashi relaxes in a warm bath, enjoying a peaceful moment after their dangerous journey. He finds his stay in the house really relaxing and is still surprised that such a nice place exists at the bottom of the valley. While bathing, Takahashi creates a small magical orb through magic as he reflects on his experiences. He has learned a lot living with mech and now understands that magic consumes more MP than skills because magic spells are usually more powerful. He's also learned how to fight and survive in this dangerous world. Just then, Lenya appears in the bath, playfully making peace signs. Takahashi panics, seeing that she's without any plot armor, and screams, asking why she's there. The teddy bear elf suddenly bursts into the bathroom, asking what all the ruckus is about. Embarrassed, Takahashi tries to explain that nothing happened, but Lenya replies that she just wanted to take a bath before dinner. The situation grows more awkward as Lenya suggests Mech should join them too. Excited, the elf tosses aside her covering and warns Takahashi not to get too excited about seeing her most intimate places. Everyone ends up in the bath together, with Lenya happily enjoying herself and asking her master for a backwash. Mech soaks herself in soap and starts scrubbing her back. Enjoying the shared bath, Lenya enthusiastically offers to wash Takahashi's back and he agrees. While scrubbing, Lenya freezes when she notices a scar on his back. When she asks about it, Takahashi explains it's just a little mark from when the poisonous lizard hurt him. Lenya expresses sympathy for his injury and then declares that Takahashi is now a member of their family. With that, she asks if he can wash her hair and Takahashi agrees, saying it should be fine. But just as he moves to wash her hair, Lenya shouts, accusing him of trying to touch her ears and calls him a creep. The final test before the battle against the golem begins with Takahashi facing off against a level 29 flame weasel demon specialized in fire attacks. Before the test starts, Mech explains that defeating this demon will complete his training in the valley. The protagonist prepares for combat as the fiery demon weasel launches swirling fire attacks. Surrounded by powerful flames, Mech shouts, warning Takahashi to concentrate and dodge with minimal movement. Recalling Mech's advice to end the fight in a single blow, Takahashi leaps high and delivers a devastating sword strike to the demon. With the flame demon defeated, Takahashi stands victorious as Mech praises him, saying his performance was excellent. She notes that this was exactly what she expected from her student. Suddenly, Takahashi shouts, warning Mech to get back as a massive ball of fire nearly consumes her. Luckily, she manages to dive out of the way and is shocked to see the flame weasel is still alive. The demon roars and prepares another devastating assault, launching a fire attack at the bear. But in that dire moment, Takahashi shields her from the blast and gets caught in the burning flames. He screams in pain as the fire burns his palm to crisp. In retaliation, Takahashi counters with a massive acid attack that finally takes down the beast. With the monster defeated, Mech rushes over to check on Takahashi, but he tells her he's fine and then apologizes for not defeating the beast in one strike like she taught him. However, Mech says the blame lies with her since she was caught off guard too. Later that day inside the house, Mech asks Takahashi what he plans to do when he gets out of the valley. Takahashi replies that he hasn't thought much about it, but hopes to get stronger so he can clap back at those who threw him away like spoiled leftovers. Just then, Lenya appears as a black cat and crawls onto the bed where Takahashi is lying, then slips inside his shirt. Takahashi shouts, reminding her he told her to stay out of there. He complains that he always wakes up with a stiff back when she does that. But Lenya refuses, saying she likes the feeling and will definitely sleep there. Lenya then sadly points out that they're all going to miss each other for different reasons and how sad it is to say goodbye. But Mech tells her she has no intention of leaving her, admitting she'd be too worried to leave her alone. Mech also says she can't abandon Takahashi either, especially if he's trying to get stronger. She insists she still has so many things to teach him. Lenya then smiles and says she's glad they'll be sticking together. Following this, Mech moves closer to Takahashi and, observing his peaceful breathing, notices he is out cold. Her eyes fall on the scar on his hand, the fire scar he had hidden, not wanting her to feel bad. Feeling emotional, Mech silently apologizes to Takahashi for everything he's been through and blames herself for not being vigilant. She vows to take responsibility for this scar forever. She adds that even though she's been cursed for 60 years, it doesn't matter as long as wonderful people like him are by her side. The next day, Takahashi absorbs the corpses of some goblins in preparation for the battle with the golem, but is surprised that he doesn't feel anything at all. Mech explains that this must mean his status has risen very far. Lenya then suggests they take Takahashi to the cemetery to make him stronger, but Mech shuts down the idea immediately, telling her not to be stupid. Mech warns she won't allow Takahashi to act like a necromancer and start desecrating people's remains. She insists that Takahashi will only absorb what they eliminate, nothing more. Heading to the exit, the group decides it's time to finish this once and for all. Just as they walk inside, they are faced with a gigantic level 42 golem. At that moment, Mech declares it's time to finally leave the valley. Strategizing, Mech explains that Takahashi and Lenya will attack first. However, she warns that Lenya's beast form will only last 10 minutes, so they need to prepare themselves for the assault. With everything set, the team puts the plan in motion, declaring they'll fight for their freedom. It's all or nothing. But suddenly, the giant golem launches devastating attacks with its massive stone fists that nearly turn them into pancakes. They barely dodge the crushing blows, noting it was too close for comfort. Mech warns that this won't be an easy fight and tells Takahashi to stay vigilant. When Takahashi asks how they can even beat such a massive creature, Mech replies that their aim should be to destroy the red core in its heart. With that in mind, Takahashi aims a fireball at the golem's heart, but the monster quenches it like it's nothing. Frustrated, Takahashi starts to lose hope because of the golem's incredibly high defense. However, Mech reminds him the golem isn't just going to let them damage its core so easily, and then suggests he uses his meteorite ability. But Takahashi points out that the distance between the golem and the ceiling would be a hindrance. So Mech suggests they stick to the original plan and attack the core directly. She instructs Lenya to use her speed to distract the golem while Takahashi goes on the offensive. The black wolf races around the massive creature, keeping its attention locked on her swift movements. As she runs, she taunts the golem, calling it slow while evading every one of its attacks. Frustrated, the golem tries to punch Lenya, but at that moment, Mech sees an opening and shouts for Takahashi to attack the core now. Takahashi immediately strikes the red glowing core, but everyone is shocked to discover an impenetrable barrier protecting it. Lenya shouts for everyone to fall back and regroup, warning that they need to take out the golem's head first to disable its barrier protection system. Suddenly, the golem slams its massive stone fist into the ground, sending everyone flying. Mech struggles to stand and asks if everyone is okay, but Lenya replies that she can't move. Just then, Lenya notices an incoming attack and alerts Mech. Mech sees the golem's massive fist crashing down on her but is frozen in shock. To save the bear, Takahashi throws himself into the monster's fist. Takahashi tries to launch a fireball, but the golem fist presses down on him with tremendous force and crushes him. Mech panics, thinking Takahashi has finally joined his ancestors, but she's shocked to see the Chad emerge from beneath the golem's fist, battered but alive. With inhuman strength, Takahashi throws the 3,000-pound pure rock to the ground with tremendous force. Mech observes that the golem is now flat on its back and calls out to Takahashi, wondering if this is really his chance. The protagonist struggles to take action but begins to lose consciousness. Seeing the golem already regenerating, Mech runs to position herself near its exposed core and urges Takahashi to use his meteorite skill to strike the target now. She declares this isn't the time to give up and encourages Takahashi that he can do it. The teddy bear watches anxiously as Takahashi prepares for the decisive attack. The protagonist activates his most powerful meteor assault that completely destroys the core's barrier in a massive explosion. Mech then shouts for Lenya to act as the creature's defenses crumble. The black wolf wastes no time, launching herself at the vulnerable golem and destroying the core. With the golem finally defeated, Takahashi's status screen shows a significant stats increase as he absorbs the golem's power. Excited, Mech congratulates Takahashi and Lenya for their strategic teamwork while the duo lie exhausted on the ground. Just then, the team notices the exit to the valley and is thrilled that they can finally leave. But as they prepare to move, strange sounds echo from the exit. Deep in the shadows, a heavily armored knight appears. Takashi demands to know who the knight is, but the mysterious knight remains silent. Desperate, Takashi tries to use his identity skill on the mysterious figure but realizes he can't. Nervous, Mech warns that the guy might be dangerous, possibly an opponent even a level 100 couldn't beat. But somehow, Takahashi doesn't feel like the knight is an enemy and thinks it's best to try talking to him. Suddenly, the weird knight extends his armored hand toward Takahashi. Confused, Takahashi wonders if the knight is asking for a handshake or something. With little choice, Takahashi also extends his hand to shake, but then realizes the knight is actually asking for a thumb war. Suspicious, Mech says she's never heard of anything like a thumb war before. So Lenya explains it's just a game where people test each other's strength using only their thumbs. As the thumb war begins, multiple skeletal arms emerge around them as dark energy swirls. In a vision, Takahashi finds himself being dragged into a dark abyss by the skeletons. Before his eyes, a giant mysterious eye symbol appears, leaving him confused. After that, the strange knight draws close to his face and then asks him to resist. Few minutes later, Takahashi snaps out of the vision when Mech calls out, asking if he's okay. He replies that he's fine, but then notices the strange knight isn't standing before him anymore. Mech informs him that the knight disappeared without a trace. Suddenly, Takahashi feels an intense heat around his body. On the back of his hand appears the same mysterious eye symbol from his vision, but then it vanishes, making Takahashi wonder if it might be some sort of curse. Takahashi also notices a disgusting, evil smell emanating from his body and mentions it. Mech then reminds Lenya she has a good sense of smell and asks if she can detect what smell it is. Lenya nervously moves closer to Takahashi's hand, takes a sniff and screams that she'll die because her nose is going to fall off. Takahashi tells her to try smelling it one more time, but she declines, saying she never wants to experience it again. Mech then suggests that since Takahashi's hand smells just as bad as your morning breath, wrapping a cloth around it would be better. However, she mentions they still need to find a solution, but first they have to get out of the valley. With that, the team finally leaves the Valley of Death. Outside, they see a sea of dead lizard men. Mech speculates that the lizard men were probably engaged in a battle with someone. Meanwhile, Lenya worries that with so many corpses, Takahashi might get overpowered from absorbing them all. Observing the carnage, Takahashi notices some goblins stealing equipment from the corpses and then leaving. Mech points out that the goblins were just like the necromancers who pillaged corpses and then warns Takahashi that, as long as he remains her disciple, he must not partake in such wretched acts. Changing the subject, Lenya suggests they start heading to town already. But Mech still finds it strange that only lizard men corpses lie on the battlefield. The war seems like a one-sided massacre, and Mech wonders if it's really possible the humans are responsible. A flashback reveals that the war is between the Fang Beastmen and humans. The Fang Beastmen are known for their physical strength, yet they lost the battle to humans led by a powerful warrior. The Lizardmen forces were completely overwhelmed despite their defensive positions. At first, they were confident in their castle walls, which were imbued with magical barriers, but suddenly, the powerful human destroyed the walls with a single magical strike, shocking everyone present. With the Beastmen defense gone, the human forces press their advantage and continue to attack. The team finally arrives at the bustling city of Maestros, and Lenya admits it's been a long time since she's seen so many people. First things first, Mech points out they have to solve the matter of her curse. But most importantly, they need cash because they can't do anything without it. Takahashi mentions that to get money, they need a job and he's ready to wash dishes. But Mech tells him there's a better way to make money with his strength. The trio walks into a massive coliseum to make money, and Takahashi is immediately faced with a big guy and his two-armed wrest. Takahashi feels nervous about fighting in front of so many people watching him. Before the fight starts, the extra-large fighter says challenging humans is very rare, so he's sure he'll have some fun. Meanwhile, the cloaked fighter scans Takahashi's level to gauge his strength and is shocked to discover Takahashi's limit level is 1. Due to his low level, the fighters brag about being ranked 27, 23, and 30 respectively, and assure Takahashi that even with their eyes blindfolded, there's no way he can beat them. They all laugh at the pathetic situation, confident it will be an easy fight. Meanwhile, Takahashi reasons he can't let his guard down since these guys could be very skillful. But just then, Mech makes matters worse by telling Takahashi the fighters are just a bunch of crooks. This pisses off the drum belly fighter, who angrily says he won't be insulted by a level 1 and punches Takahashi in the gut with his enormous hands. The fighter smiles proudly as his punch slams Takahashi into the arena wall. However, Takahashi emerges from the crater in the wall unscathed. Mech scolds him, saying he could have at least dodged the attack and advises him to use his electric shock ability. As the fat meathead charges again, Mech tells Takahashi that if he shoots a bolt of lightning directly into the guy's thick skull, he'll faint. Just then, the big guy attacks, slamming into the wall. But Takahashi evades, leaps into the air, and blasts the guy's eyes with high-voltage electricity. The arena erupts in disbelief as the big guy collapses instantly. The remaining 2 opponents are left in shock. The blobfish opponent quickly attacks with high-speed moves, proud of his assault. But what he doesn't expect is Takahashi's lightning-fast evasion. To end the fight, Takahashi grabs the fish guy's head and electrocutes him with a powerful shock. The last opponent doesn't waste any time and summons a mighty whirlwind. He blasts Takahashi with the fierce wind, causing a massive explosion that rocks the entire arena. But he is shocked to his bones when he sees Takahashi using the unconscious body of the big guy to shield himself from the attack. Eventually, Takahashi wins the fight against all his opponents. Sometime later, in the office, the arena manager angrily refuses to give Takahashi any award for his victories. He accuses Takahashi of cheating, saying there's no way a level 1 can beat higher-ranking opponents. Furious, Mech tries to explain that Takahashi won fair and square, but the manager insists he will only believe it when he sees Takahashi's status. Eventually, Takahashi and the girls are chased out of the office without any prize money. Frustrated, Takahashi apologizes to the team for losing the prize money because of his level. But Mech tells him not to apologize and says they need to do something about their broke situation quickly. Takahashi then suggests they go to the guild in search of work. Lenya excitedly agrees, saying even though they don't have money, they can still travel around hunting demons. However, Mech disapproves, explaining that without money, suspicious people like them won't be allowed into territories, especially in times when the world is at war. But with no choice, the trio finally decides to join the guild. Upon arriving, Mech explains that guilds are sending soldiers to the battlefield these days. If they manage to get in, they'll have the opportunity to visit other territories. Panicking, Takahashi asks if that means they'll go to war sooner or later. Mech replies that it's normal for someone his age. Standing in front of the guild door, Takahashi reflects that if he can defeat a golem, he doesn't think he'll die so easily. Mech agrees. Suddenly, Takahashi bumps his head on something and cries out in pain. It turns out to be a massive minotaur figure who asks what the heck happened. The Beastman Guild worker then asks if the person who bumped into him is all right. But upon seeing Takahashi as human, he freaks out, grabs Takahashi by the shirt, calls him a stupid human, and warns him not to just stand there. Eventually, another, much calmer minotaur approaches and tries to restore peace by telling the first to calm down. Sometime later, a pretty blonde elf receptionist approaches them, asking if they're interested in joining. Upon seeing her, Takahashi is stunned to see a human for the very first time. As the receptionist leads Takahashi and the girls to register, other Beast Guild members notice the presence of another human and start gossiping about it. Meanwhile, the team enters the massive guild hall. The receptionist welcomes them and explains how the guild works. She reveals that the main function of the guild currently is to deploy troops to war zones. Furthermore, she mentions that as adventurers, they will be sent to the most dangerous battlefields, so they need to be prepared. She also warns that the guild card has a tracking function to prevent them from straying too far from their mission. With that said, the receptionist mentions they will be given a small admission test to determine if their levels meet the guild's requirements. She brings out a device that shows individuals' status and assures them that their personal details will be kept confidential. Nervously, Takahashi thinks about his pathetic level 1 ranking and wonders if they'll accept him despite his low stats. However, Mech encourages him that his skills should be fine. Motivated, both Takahashi and Lenya place their hands over the device, and their status screens activate for evaluation. Lenya's status appears first, showing her level 12 Beastman abilities, after which the receptionist thanks her for her cooperation and promises a fair evaluation. Then Takahashi's status screen appears, revealing his level 1 to everyone present. The receptionist is shocked by his incredibly low level and stares in disbelief at his crazy skills. Takahashi feels embarrassed about his terribly low level, but the receptionist confirms they've both successfully passed the requirements and the test. However, she mentions there's a small fee for processing their guild cards. Hearing this, Takahashi starts panicking about their broke status and silently asks Mech for a solution. Mech tells him to chill, saying she's got a brilliant idea. Her 500 IQ idea involves weeping bitterly and complaining about their lack of funds to get the receptionist's sympathy. Desperate, she grabs the receptionist's leg, begging her to do something to help their situation. Somehow, Mech's plan works. The receptionist asks her to calm down and then explains there's a special condition for awarding the first reward on the initial missions. She mentions that the guild is currently short-staffed, so they will accept people like them depending on their abilities. The receptionist then hands them temporary guild cards for immediate use and urges them to take care of them. However, she tells them they are only temporary members of the guild and will become temporary residents of the city of Maestros. That settled, the receptionist shows them a map with mission locations marked by bright dots and asks them to select their first neutral zone mission. Takahashi looks down at the map at his feet, confused by the numerous mission markers scattered across the territory and questions why there are so many active war zones. The receptionist explains that the bigger the point of light, the more dangerous the mission will be, and warns them to choose carefully. Mech then suggests they pick the closest available mission. Before the receptionist can explain the mission details, Mech hurries out of the guild, urging Takahashi and Lenya to follow, promising to take care of the mission's location. Stepping outside, Takahashi asks her to explain further, but Mech just rushes away impatiently. Meanwhile, a map displays 3 territorial divisions at war against each other: the ogres, dwarves, and human lands. Far away in human territory, a blonde elf appears distressed. She is held captive by Kaito, one of the high-level bullies. Kaito declares his intention to ensure humanity dominates the entire world. However, the surrounding beast tribes express differing opinions about his plan. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, ominous rumbling echoes across the landscape. Something massive approaches through the mountainous terrain, shaking the ground violently. A huge black bull bursts from the rocky terrain at incredible speed, with Takahashi frightenedly grabbing onto it, trying to stop the beast. Nervously, Mech and Lenya chase from behind, suggesting Takahashi use his skills to stop the creature. Takahashi decides to try and activate a fireball against the towering monster, but it has no effect. Next, he unleashes his devastating acid bomb technique, but the beast remains on a rampage. Frustrated, Takahashi informs the girls that his abilities are useless against the beast. As the massive bull proves too fast for direct attacks, Takahashi suggests the only way to stop it is with his powerful meteorite skill, and then warns the girls to stop moving immediately. At that moment, Takahashi activates his ultimate meteorite attack against the charging bull. Suddenly, a massive celestial projectile crashes down with tremendous force. Still, the ferocious bull won't stop, charging forward even with a massive boulder blocking its path. Takahashi struggles with the beast but finally defeats it by striking it down with his sword. The powerful sword attack brings down the enormous black creature, and Takahashi stands victorious after the intense battle. Mech compliments him, saying he's a tough guy after the fight. But Takahashi brushes it off, admitting the battle was hard but manageable. On the other hand, Lenya angrily scolds Mech for being impatient and almost getting them into trouble. She warns that from now on, when they work, Mech needs to listen carefully to the mission information before they embark. But Takahashi pats Lenya on the head, telling her to chill since everything went well despite the chaos. Then, he asks if he can absorb the beast's remains, but Mech says no, insisting they're taking it home. She explains the bull's skin should be valuable, and adds that the guild is supposed to accept the monster, which could speed up their rewards and help them get full guild cards. Takahashi agrees it's a great plan, but asks how they're supposed to carry it home. He points out they don't have tools or equipment, and wonders how they'll even get the massive skin off. Someone then suggests they could carry it by the lower body. Later at the guild, 2 weird-looking adventurers approach the worried receptionist and ask why the long face. One wonders if it's related to the newbies, and the receptionist confirms it is. She expresses concern that Takahashi and his team were supposed to have completed their mission and returned by now. Shocked, the chicken-headed adventurer asks if the newbie team has already completed the mission to hunt the humongous black cow, a monster the guild has been trying to exterminate. The receptionist replies that she thought they'd give up right away. She adds she's worried everyone will make a fuss when they hear a level 1 accomplished such a feat. Just then, 2 officials approach, announcing that the newbies have returned and are now walking down the main street toward the guild. Concerned, the receptionist asks if they returned safely, but the goat-headed official says there's no time for such questions. He points at the street and tells the receptionist to hurry and do something about the messy situation. Looking down the street, the receptionist and the other adventurers are shocked out of their wits at what they see. Heading toward the guild entrance is none other than Takahashi, carrying the humongous black bull on his head, while everyone stares in amazement at the TikTok-worthy scene. Inside the guild, chaos erupts over the monster delivery. Someone declares this an urgent mission requiring immediate action, while others complain about the terrible smell filling the entire area. Takahashi starts to sweat bullets at the embarrassing complications his arrival with the enormous bull has caused. Just then, the chicken-headed adventurer and his partner approach. With a booze in hand, they congratulate the newbie team on completing their first mission and casually offer to sit next to them, which Takahashi nervously accepts. The veteran adventurers sit and ask Takahashi and his team to drink up. They express surprise that Takahashi and his team could complete the mission, explaining that the guild had initially planned to dispatch a large team to exterminate the humongous black cow. However, Takahashi shocks them by apologizing for any inconvenience he might have caused. Meanwhile, the officials meet with the receptionist about the large bull Takahashi brought in. They inform her that what the adventurer returned with is a highly valuable material and praise her for her contribution to the guild. At the same time, 3 Beastmen adventurers excitedly approach Takahashi, thanking him for bringing the black cow's skin to the guild. They mention they can finally return to their posts and then call Takahashi their savior. Also, the chicken-headed adventurer and his partner encourage Takahashi and his team to keep up the good work, saying they look forward to working with them. The veteran's care reminds Takahashi of how his seniors used to support him in school, bringing a smile to his face. With all the praise, Mech gets hyped, declaring the mission she picked was a success. She starts running, promising Takahashi and Lenya she'll choose a good mission next time. But a hand quickly grabs her. It's the receptionist. She tells Mech she'll be managing their missions from now on. While commending their impressive abilities, the receptionist says their qualities aren't great, so she'll handle their assignments. When Mech asks about special rewards for the mighty black cow they brought back, the receptionist pulls out a paper with an outrageous amount and hands it to them as their reward. The teddy bear is over the moon, thinking they've finally bagged a check. But the receptionist reveals it's actually a bill for the costs incurred from their mission. She adds that she deducted their special reward from the expenses and they're obligated to pay the rest. She warns they won't be issued regular licenses until the debt is cleared. Frustrated, Mech collapses dramatically, shouting about how everything she does always backfires. Before long, the team stands at the entrance to Samaki Cave for their next guild mission. Takahashi takes down the monster guarding the entrance while Mech complains bitterly about having to collect mushrooms. Takahashi tells her it's the mission after all, but Mech grumbles that they've only been doing simple errands lately instead of real missions. Takahashi reminisces about their recent tasks, explaining they've been destroying goblin nests, exterminating big slimes, and hunting packs of kobolds. However, Mech notes that with their abilities, they could have taken on much bigger missions than what the she-devil receptionist assigned them. She adds that even though they finally got proper equipment, it's just a waste. Looking at his sword, Takahashi recalls in a flashback an incident from days back at the guild. The receptionist provides Takahashi's team with supplies packed in a wooden crate from the guild since their clothes are already worn out. She says it's nothing of great value, but Takahashi thanks her, saying it's more than enough. The receptionist notes they don't have any weapons and apologizes, explaining they're currently out of stock due to a delay in distribution caused by the ongoing war. Mech immediately protests the lack of weapons, but the receptionist blames the shortage on the war. Just then, someone tosses a sword to Takahashi. It's the chicken-headed veteran who says it's a gift since the blade is too small and has been gathering dust in his warehouse. Back in the cave, Takahashi suggests that for now, they just have to complete every task and earn recognition. Otherwise, they'll never get a regular license. After filling the baskets with mushrooms, Takahashi says it's enough and they just have to carry the supplies back. The lazy teddy bear then assigns roles. She says Lenya will carry the mushrooms while Takahashi stays on the lookout for monsters. As they walk outside the cave, Mech expresses her desire to take on a more challenging mission. Suddenly, Takahashi notices something terrifying ahead. The path is blocked, and a strange man is tied up like a goat, surrounded by magical circles. Shocked, Takahashi wonders what's happening, while Lenya asks if it's some kind of demon's altar. Takahashi suggests they save the sacrificial man, but someone warns not to get close, or they'll get caught up in the summoning ritual. Looking closer, they see the tied-up man split in half by a muscular armored demon. The evil demon is revealed to be Lysis, a powerful level 88 demon from the demon world. Stunned, Takahashi realizes demons from the demon world operate on a completely different level and wonders what their aim is. However, someone says they still have a chance to escape, noting that demons summoned from the demon world have limitations and can't use their full power. Mech explains that once they meet a demon, they either have to clap it or get clapped by it, and tells everyone to get ready. The battle begins as Takahashi, Lenya, and Mech face off against the armored demon. Takahashi immediately shouts for Lenya to go beast mode as the massive demon attacks. Lenya transforms into her fierce black wolf form and lunges at the armored creature, but the demon catches her paw. To save her, Takahashi attacks with his sword, but the demon proves incredibly tough as his strikes struggle against its defenses. As Lenya finally slips from the demon's grasp, Takahashi tries striking again, but realizes the demon's armor is extremely durable and his sword can't cut through. Lenya, watching from the side, prepares for another attack. She claws at every part of the demon's body at sonic speed, but she's surprised to see her attacks are totally ineffective. Takahashi then shouts for Lenya to get away as he attempts his acid shot attack, hoping the corrosive ability will damage the creature's armor. However, even this powerful skill proves totally useless against the demon's defenses. But at that moment, the demon retaliates, launching a fireball that nearly burns Takahashi and Lenya to a crisp. However, they manage to move out of the way just in time. As the battle intensifies, Takahashi warns everyone to keep their distance from the demon. The demon bides its time, preparing for its next powerful attack. Desperate, Takahashi asks Mech if the demon has any weaknesses they can exploit. Mech then suggests he uses meteorite ability, but Takahashi notes that if only the cave ceiling were higher, they might have better options. Suddenly, Takahashi experiences excruciating pain from his injured hand, and a disgusting stench emanates from the wound, filling the entire cave. Everyone in the battle starts complaining about the awful smell, including the demon. Lenya faints just to escape the disgusting odor, while Mech becomes curious if the terrible smell is some kind of curse. The demon finally speaks about the smell. He says the disgusting smell is the very reason he was summoned to this location. The demon calls Takahashi the Abyss and threatens to completely crush their soft bodies along with their souls. Undergoing a terrifying explosive transformation known as release mode, the demon also vows to annihilate Takahashi's very existence. This transformation removes his limitations for a certain period, allowing him to attack with full power, becoming even more dangerous than before. With his transformation complete, the demon prepares for maximum destruction. Realizing he might be unable to guard against such a terrifying attack, Takahashi pats Mech's head and asks her to hold onto Lenya tightly. At that decisive moment, the demon launches a devastating dark blast attack, and a massive energy beam tears through the cave with incredible destructive force. Mech and Lenya barely manage to dodge as the attack wreaks havoc on their surroundings. The aftermath reveals a massive hole caused by the demon's assault, with Takahashi missing. While wondering what happened to Takahashi, Mech sees the terrifying demon emerge from the debris of the aftermath and panics. But instead of attacking, the demon ignores her and begins walking into the massive black hole. Mech immediately follows the demon inside, curious about its next move. Inside the hole, she starts to perceive the same disgusting smell that emanates from Takahashi's hand. Suddenly, she spots the Black Knight they had encountered earlier in the valley and wonders if Takahashi is inside the armor. Meanwhile, Takahashi finds himself floating in a strange void, unsure if he's sinking or where the heck he is. In this mysterious realm, he questions if he's dead and what happened to him. The feeling seems familiar, as if he's experienced something like this before. As his body floats weightlessly in this strange dimension, Takahashi suddenly starts to notice the same awful smell. Suddenly, a skeleton appears, trying to help Takahashi. The skeleton clarifies the situation, telling him they are in the Abyss, a world isolated from reality. The skeleton then congratulates him for arriving and mentions that the king is waiting. Suddenly, the massive eye from earlier appears, startling Takahashi. Takahashi remembers seeing the eyeball before and links its pattern to the mark on his hand. Confused, Takahashi questions the undead creature for clarity, but the skeleton becomes more animated, making chattering sounds that only add to the confusion. The skeleton then panics, saying he never expected things to turn out this way. He turns to Takahashi and apologizes, admitting they've found themselves in an unexpected situation. From the dark abyss, Takahashi sees the demon in the outside world using someone like a punching bag. Meanwhile, in the real world, the terrifying demon is beating the Dark Knight like a useless thief. Mech tries to stop the demon from inflicting more damage on the Dark Knight, knowing Takahashi might be trapped inside. But the demon tosses her away like a tsetse fly and continues the assault. Back in the abyss, Takahashi, confused, asks the skeleton what's happening, and the undead answers that the knight is actually him in the real world. When Takahashi presses for more explanation, the undead briefly says the armor can't hold on much longer and apologizes for not having time to explain everything properly. Suddenly, multiple skeletal hands reach toward Takahashi, and the skeleton urges him to use the strength of their companions to fight the demon. Takahashi questions how the skeleton knows about his corpse absorption ability, but the skeleton replies there isn't much time. He needs to hurry. Takahashi hesitates, noticing the corpses wear human clothes, meaning they might be human. He recalls Mech's initial warning to absorb only the corpses of enemies defeated in battle. This puts him in a difficult position, leaving him confused about what to do. But then the emotional weight builds as Takahashi sees Mech desperately trying to save the Dark Knight. He reflects that even if he becomes like the undead, he's okay with it. As long as he can fight, there's still hope. With that, Takahashi apologizes to Mech, saying he's about to break their promise and wonders if she'd be disappointed if she knew what he's planning to do to survive this nightmare. Since this is his only desperate option, Takahashi begins absorbing the remains of the undead skeletons. Meanwhile, in the outside world, Mech prepares to sacrifice herself to save the knight as she braces to absorb the demon's incoming attack with her fluffy body. Mech cries out emotionally, declaring she will protect her disciple. However, the demon shows zero respect for her sacrifice. As he readies a punch meant to blast her into the shadow realm, a massive explosion erupts and his fist is restrained. The Dark Knight has awoken. With a fierce look, he protects Mech from harm. An incredible display of power forces the demon to back away in fear. The Dark Knight, carrying Mech in one hand, confronts the demon. The demon recoils, unable to stand the horrible stench emanating from the knight. In that decisive moment, Takahashi, embodying the armor of the Dark Knight, punches the demon in the face. The demon is sent flying and crashes into the wall with tremendous impact. Battered but alive, the demon is stunned to see how strong Takahashi has become. Meanwhile, Takahashi emerges from the cave with explosive main character energy, displaying the creepy eye tattoo on his hand. Furious, the demon launches a brutal assault against Takahashi, aiming a menacing counterattack. It tries to punch, but Takahashi blocks the creature's massive fist with superhuman strength. Suddenly, Takahashi counters with his own devastating punch attack. Multiple skeletal fists emerge from the abyss, unleashing 1,000 punches to the demon's guts, destroying his guts entirely. Shocked, the demon questions if this incredible strength belongs to the Abyss King. Confused, the demon realizes Takahashi possesses abilities beyond normal comprehension. But even then, he is determined to erase Takahashi's very existence. With that, the demon unleashes its ultimate technique, Dark Blast, against him. This causes a devastating energy attack that tears through the cave, obliterating everything in its path, but Takahashi stands unscathed in the midst of the destruction. The demon is shocked to see Takahashi still standing, but at that moment he realizes his release time is up and his power begins to fade. Realizing he can't handle Takahashi's repulsive power in his current state, the demon chooses to retreat for now, promising to fight another day. But the protagonist declares he won't let the creature escape alive. Using his meteorite ability, Takahashi summons a massive rock from deep within the abyss that lands on the demon, crushing him. An enormous crater forms on the ground with the demon defeated. Takahashi then picks up the demon with one hand and ends its existence with just a twist of the neck. Meanwhile, Mech, carrying an unconscious Lenya, watches the battle unfold inside the cave. Nervously, she asks Takahashi if the demon has been defeated and if he is okay. Smiling, Takahashi confirms the demon is defeated and tells her he's fine. Sometime later, at an inn, Takahashi relaxes in a bath with Mech after the intense battle while Lenya lies unconscious on the bed. Mek, still curious, asks Takahashi what happened to him, saying she thought he had died back there. Looking at his bandaged hand, Takahashi replies he isn't sure himself, but thanks to his curse, they managed to survive. Mek remains skeptical, saying that even though the curse saved them, it's still an unknown power and could be dangerous. She proudly mentions that if she were in her original form, they wouldn't have to rely on any curse. Speaking of form, Mek asks if Takahashi got the release skill after absorbing the demon. Takahashi says yes and summons an evil magical circle. Mek then suggests that the release power might return her to her original form if used on her, but Takahashi worries it might be dangerous. Still, Mek insists on giving it a try. With that, Takahashi activates the release power and a magical circle appears. Mek unexpectedly jumps into the bathtub, and as she emerges, Takahashi is stunned beyond words to see a gorgeous hot elf. Excited, Mek celebrates finally being back in her original form. However, Takahashi seems overwhelmed by her sudden transformation into an attractive woman. Mek admires her beautiful hair and pretty face with excitement, celebrating having her nice body back after so long. She turns to Takahashi and asks if his little Jimmy is getting excited seeing her true form. Confused, Takahashi seems surprised by her beauty and sudden dramatic personality change. Mek leans closer and scolds him for making fun of her and ruining her mood. She threatens to make him regret his tactless behavior. Takahashi tries to explain he was just making an innocent comment, but Mek reminds him that back at the Valley of Death, she promised to make him her groom. She asks if he thinks she was joking and says she meant every word, that one day she'll take him to her country and make him her husband. Interlocking their hands, Mek declares she's milking his rod right then and asks him not to worry, promising it won't take long. Takahashi tries to resist, but she insists on giving him his first kiss. As Mek locks lips with him, she suddenly transforms back into a stuffed bear. Shocked, she can't believe it, but Takahashi explains that due to his low level, the power lasts only 2 minutes and has a cooldown period before it can be used again. As the situation grows awkward, Mek, embarrassed, quickly runs out of the bathtub. Takahashi tries to console her, but she painfully tells him not to say anything about the transformation. Several weeks later, the team embarks on a new neutral zone mission to capture the band of lizardmen thieves. This time, they're joined by a proud Minotaur who declares he'll subdue the thieves all by himself and warns Takahashi and the team not to meddle in his work. Suddenly, they spot the boss of the lizardmen thieves trying to escape, and someone shouts that they can't let him get away. The proud Minotaur immediately jumps in front of the fleeing boss and declares he'll take credit for taking him down. But the hooded lizardman boss swiftly dodges him, just like your crush dodges your texts. Just then, Lenya, riding in her Black Panther form, carries Takahashi and Mek as they pursue the escaping thief. Mek reminds Takahashi that their mission is to capture the boss, not kill him. Realizing the lizardman is getting away, Mek tells Takahashi to use his absorb thread ability to capture the target. Takahashi obeys and quickly activates the skill, creating a web-like trap that finally ensnares the fleeing lizardman boss. Sometime later, back at the guild, all the lizardmen thieves are assembled as a rabbit reviews their paperwork. Meanwhile, the Minotaur flexes proudly, claiming they managed to capture everyone thanks to him. But someone reminds the proud fool that he almost let the lizard boss get away and commends the juniors for a job well done. This makes the Minotaur furious, and he shouts at Takahashi not to get carried away by compliments. The chicken-headed adventurer stands up to defend Takahashi, nearly causing a face-off between the two beastmen. But Takahashi intervenes, saying it's all thanks to the Minotaur that they caught the boss. Not only that, Takahashi starts stroking the Minotaur's ego to avoid a fight. This makes the Minotaur happy. He pats Takahashi on the back, saying he finds him promising and likes him. The Minotaur offers to accompany Takahashi and his team on their next mission to learn from him. He adds that once Takahashi gets his regular license, he can work under him. Just then, the receptionist asks the big guy not to trouble the newbie too much and reminds him that he chose the elf territory for their next mission. The Minotaur says he forgot he's supposed to leave by nightfall. The receptionist warns that the elf territory is currently in a bad situation and advises caution. Upon hearing the elves are in danger, Mek's interest sparks, and she questions the receptionist to explain more about the elf situation. The blonde receptionist admits she doesn't know much, but says the elves seem to be oppressed by humans. The chicken-headed adventurer is surprised humans have become so strong since they were supposed to be on the verge of extinction. The receptionist mentions that although it's only a rumor, she heard the appearance of an existence called the Hero, was a major factor in recent conflicts. Takahashi immediately reacts with surprise upon hearing about the hero. One adventurer asks if this hero is a warrior or a strategist, but the Minotaur flexes and says it doesn't matter who stands in his way, he will crush them. Mech then adds that according to stories from her grandpa, the last time humans and elves fought was 60 years ago in the Great War. Mech explains that around 60 years ago, humans aiming to conquer the world invaded the territories of other races. At that time, humans held the largest territory and greatest strength in the world, so they conquered most lands in the blink of an eye. However, amidst all this, only the elf race managed to completely halt the human invasion. The elves were led by their queen, who had just ascended the throne and gathered survivors from other races and ultimately defeated the humans. Mech adds that, according to her grandpa, the elf queen was rude, loud, and had a very bad temper. Now, the receptionist comments that the elves seem to be struggling, fighting against the strong momentum of the humans. If this continues, their workload will likely increase. Lenya expresses concern, saying she wishes the humans and elves could stop fighting because she can't travel carefree with their master at this rate. The chicken-headed adventurer comments that would be the best-case scenario, but it's implausible. He explains that for the war to disappear from the world, every individual must become a pacifist, especially the humans. The other solution, he says, is for someone to appear who becomes the strongest in the world. Later that night, while training, Takahashi notices Mech looking worried and asks if she's been thinking about the elf territory for a while. But Mech is lost in thought, pondering the existence of the hero summoned from another world and finding it hard to believe. Although humans are growing stronger, Mech can't imagine the elves losing the war. Still, she has a bad feeling about what might happen and hopes nothing bad occurs. Meanwhile, after being ignored, Takahashi starts thinking too. He reflects on the hero who changed the game for humans and suspects that Kaido and his minions, the bullies from Earth, must somehow be involved in the situation in the elf territory. After training, Takahashi tells Mech they need to prepare just to be safe. Mech agrees and asks him to test out his Dark Blast skill. However, Takahashi reminds her they're near the city. Still, Mech insists he try it since it will soon become his main skill. She encourages him not to worry and to shoot one at the sky. Reluctantly, Takahashi agrees and begins charging the skill. As he says the word dark energy immediately swirls around him. He finishes with blast and releases a massive dark energy beam. Takahashi tries blasting it into the sky, but it doesn't work as expected. Mech asks what's wrong, and Takahashi explains it's a charging skill different from regular attacks. Observing, Mech comments that it will take a while before he can shoot it like the demon did. As the dark orb appears charged and ready, Takahashi says he thinks he can shoot it now, and Mech tells him to fire it at the moon like he wants to destroy it. Without holding back, Takahashi fires the blast with tremendous force toward the sky. The attack seems to miss its target, and Takahashi feels disappointed it doesn't match the demon's firepower. Mech suggests maybe he needs to charge it longer for more power. Suddenly, the city's alarm goes off, and Takahashi panics, suggesting they head back immediately. Just then, an emergency broadcast announces that all elves currently in Mystos must come to the guild immediately. The message repeats, stating that the elf territory is in danger. Will the elves be saved by the terror of the humans? Comment LOWESD level if you're hyped to see what happens next in part 2. If you enjoyed this video, drop a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more awesome content. Thanks for watching, as always.